It's cat time.
A new day has begun.
Alright, so my background on the original Cats musical, the one that came out in the 80s, is pretty non existent. I don't know the story. I don't know really anything about it. I knew it was based on some poems, and I didn't even really know the songs. The only song that I ended up knowing was Memories All Alone in the Moonlight, and that's because I've heard it in a bunch of other things.
Touch me, it's so easy to leave me all alone with
To be honest, I didn't even think the musical was even real. I've only seen it parodied in cartoons and stuff.
Rats, we're furry and forlorn. We live in sewers, love in sewers, and our hearts are torn.
Like on The Simpsons, The Critic also did it.
And nothing of value was lost.
And there was also that one scene from Team America.
I was by Mr. Mistopheles.
Cats I pretty much had no experience with. Although then again, I used to not really care about musicals, mostly because the ones I've been to were pretty shit. So what got my attention was the same thing that got pretty much everyone's attention when this trailer came out, and I shouldn't even call it a trailer, it's more like a nightmare. I was weirded the fuck out. I was like, I have to see this now. This feels like something that the studio spent hundreds of millions of dollars making. I don't even know if it'll make its money back. I mean, it might do okay, like the audience applauded at the end of my screening. You have no idea how much of a sucker I am when it comes to big budget, ambitious, bizarre things. Cats seem to be on a bit of a similar boat. Just something so bonkers and weird. And the movie was directed by Tom Hooper, someone whose work I'm actually not very familiar with. I mean, I know what he's done. I know of The King's Speech and I know Les Miserables, but I've never watched those. Something about them just did not captivate my interest. But this did. This was like, wow. Patrick H. Willems did a good video basically rationalizing why someone like me would see this.
When it comes to the movies, I want to see things I've never seen before. And for better or for worse, I have truly never seen anything like Cats before.
And to my luck, it just so happens that my brother really wanted to watch this as well. So I figured, why not make a big event out of it? So I dug up this cat suit that I've had for years now. I don't think it's ever been washed. If you look close, it has this nice little hole in it. You can see my shirt through. I figured it was a good idea to wear this thing out in public all the way to the theater. You know, I went on TriMet. I had my brother film me doing random public cat things. I guess I was feeling a little Logan Paul-y at the moment.
Everybody wants to be a cat. Hallelujah, everybody wants to be.
Barry Lyndon, Ikiru, M, Seven Samurai, all pussies compared to the king pussy, Cats. As soon as we got to the theater, it was pretty crowded. Because in case some of you don't know, this also happens to be the same day that Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker comes out. And, you know, it's a new Star Wars, so it's a pretty big deal. And what's especially funny is that there are so many people there who were dressed in Jedi robes. They had lightsabers with them. There are people selling Star Wars Pez, Star Wars merchandise. I've never, it's not often I see people actually dress up for a movie, but they have all this Star Wars shirts, everything Star Wars related. And here I am, this creep in a cat suit, waiting in line to get tickets for some furry baits. Before the movie started, my brother and I wanted concessions, so we got in line. The line was very long, because like I said, it was a busy night that night. And it was so long, in fact, that by the time we got back to our seats, we missed the first minute of the movie, or the first 2 minutes. Like, it was that long. That doesn't happen very often. As soon as we walked through those doors, we see the main character, I think, popping out of a package or something. I thought she just got birthed. I'm gonna have to double check some sources afterwards to make sure what exactly happened in the beginning of that movie. Because once again, I know nothing of the story of Cats. I'm just basing everything I know off from this film. So it starts with the main character, who's this girl cat, I guess, being birthed. And all the other cats start immediately hounding on her, being like, "What's your name? Like, where are you from? Are you a Jellicle cat?" I've heard the phrase Jellicle cat used before. I still, for the life of me, don't know what being a Jellicle cat refers to, and I've just seen the movie. And basically they're singing about how if you're a good kitty, your chances will increase in going to cat heaven, making the Jellicle choice. Now, like, the first act of this movie, the first, 40 minutes or so of this movie, is a wild, wild trip. I haven't felt this feeling in a while, in that I'm watching mainstream, major, big-budget movie from a studio in a theater, and just the most strangest, craziest choices in the world. Like, I was already laughing as soon as I see these freak cat hybrids, these humans with digital fur, but who are also the size of a cat, kind of. Their size is kind of inconsistent. They seem sort of smaller than a normal cat. And they're in, like, the alleyways of London, but all the signs, all the human-like signs, I guess, are all just cat puns. There's the Royal Claws Hotel. There was a casino that was literally called a Catsino. There was a milk bar, and they're all doing, like, these prances. They're all doing the thing with their tails. And, like, Idris Elba cat is, like, a magical cat. He was on top of this building that had this big neon sign or something, and he changes it to, like, his wanted poster for some reason. And he's dressed like a pimp. He's dressed like, you know, like that meme, like that Tom and Jerry meme with Tom. He looks just like that. And at one point, the main cat girl, if it walks over to, like, a graveyard or something, and all the other cats are singing still about life or something. And then one of the cats, "Hey buddy, you're on camera now. I'm talking about your brethren." Anyway, so they're talking to the lead cat lady, saying that there are many nominations to go to cat heaven. The first of which is in this house over here. We're gonna meet Rebel Wilson cat. And Rebel Wilson cat is doing, like, the splits and stuff, is doing, like, you know, doing basically what I'm doing, with, like, a naked cat fur body with no genitals. This film felt oddly sexual in a way. Like, it's rated PG, but there's just something about it that doesn't feel quite right. And she sings this song number discussing how she's conducting a mice orchestra. And you see the mice orchestra, and the mice are like the cats. They have human faces, but, like, these mouse bodies, and they're, like, super tiny. I had no idea we were going to see other animals in this Cats movie, but we do. And, like, the mice sometimes reappear throughout the film. They're played by children, I think, for some reason. The effects they use on, like, these tiny mice people, they reminded me of, like, Army of Darkness, you know, the little tiny Ash Williamses. They used the same effect, that same visual effect from 1990 into this 2019 movie with all these celebrities and all this digital fur technology.
We've used digital fur technology to create the most perfect covering of fur.
But that's not even all, because then it turns out Rebel Wilson didn't just stop at a mice orchestra. She went even higher, or in this case, even tinier, with, like, a termite orchestra or a cockroach orchestra. I can't remember which, but, like, it's a bug orchestra, and the bugs all have human faces, but bug bodies. They look like the bug bodies actually almost kind of look like costumes. I can't decide if they used costumes or not, but I feel it's probably just CG bug bodies. And again, the same bizarre visual effects from what feel like 20 years ago. And as they dance around, sometimes the cats, sometimes it'd be Rebel Wilson or someone else, they would just grab the bugs and bite their heads off. And yeah, they just continue on the number, and the main cat girl does this thing that she does throughout the entire movie, which is look at everything with like a face of awe, a face that looks like... That's all she does this entire film. She has no character, no discernible personality, no agency, it feels like. In a lot of scenes, especially around the beginning, she only speaks when being spoken to. I guess they're trying to characterize her as someone who was literally just born, which would make sense, I guess. But later on, she apparently said something about coming from somewhere she was abandoned. Again, I missed the first minute of the movie. I'm sure everything must have been explained then. So after Cat Rebel Wilson's number is over, Cat Jason Derulo just suddenly appears. And he's given like a Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent for some reason. And then he has a musical number about how cool he is, about him acting all swagger. And all the girl cats, even the main one is like super thirsty for him during this musical number. Like he's yelling about milk, and he's in like a 50s like milk bar. At one point he had his face up wide in the camera, going all like. And then at the end of his number, he comes across what I first thought was Idris Elba cat, because I don't think I mentioned this, but Idris Elba is an evil magic cat. He has these magical powers that could just vanish people out of thin air. And so all the other cats are like fearful of him. You learn later that his ulterior motive is that he wants to go to cat heaven. And I should clarify that cat heaven is basically reincarnation for cats. You get to live a new life. But at the end of Jason Derulo's music number, he actually like hisses away, and instead of Idris Elba, it's Jennifer Hudson cat. Jennifer Hudson plays the sad cat who sings the memory song. And all the cats hate her for some reason. They say about how she used to be like a big popular cat. She was the glamour cat, but she's fallen off hard times. I don't remember what hard times. I think they may have mentioned something about her getting entangled with Idris Elba, but they never followed up on that. They didn't even really explain or justify everyone's hatred towards her. If they said something about how, oh, she was this big, vain diva or something, then that would at least give some sort of explanation for why people are kind of turning their back on her. But no, she's just sad, and every other cat just kind of hisses at her or whatever, like tells her to like go away or whatever. And she sings a brief little sad number. And right after her sad number, James Corden cat walks in. James Corden is a big fat cat who sings about how big and fat he is, and he's also rich too. He owns several buildings or whatever. But mostly he just sings about how he loves food and how he eats the food and then spits on people's faces or something. But then Idris Elba cat returns and lures him into jumping into this garbage can full of food, but he ends up abducting him, basically. He also abducted Rebel Wilson cat earlier. I forgot that Rebel Wilson also made a neuter joke, like mentioned something about neutering. And it's the presence of Idris Elba cat that drives all the other cats, like, running away, except for Main Cat. Main Cat is just suddenly on top of a fence or something, and these two cat twins show up and are like, hey, we live in this mansion and we like to cause mischief. You should join us in some mischief. And so she does. She just, hops around the bed. They like eat up all the food and like break a pot and do all kinds of stuff. And it comes to an end when the dog starts barking. As soon as the dog was barking, I was like, oh my god, are we gonna see the dog? I am so curious to see what the dog would look like in this world. We never see it. The magic cat shows up from like the window of the house, and they shut the door down, and like the dog is like pushing behind it. Again, no muzzle or anything. In a way, it does feel like something that would play out on a stage. Like if you were watching this on the stage and they would simulate the feeling of a dog pushing through a giant door. But for a movie of this scale and budget, they decided to still do that anyway. And then comes the arrival of Judi Dench cat, who's like the oldest cat in the world or something. She's the one who calls the shot on who goes to cat heaven. Only one can go to cat heaven, and I don't know how many times they do this. Is it like a yearly thing? I'm not sure. They come across some old theater, and they have like a dance number there, and you're introduced to old Ian McKellen cat, who's like a theatrical actor. And then there's like a railroad cat who does like a railroad dance number. And meanwhile, sometimes Idris Elba comes back to abduct a cat, and he's keeping them in some ship over the Atlantic. The film has no story, it has no proper structure. As far as I know, I hear that the musical is very similar. But for a movie, you kind of need something. You kind of need something for like the audience to follow, like a story or something. You need characters to connect to. You need proper motivations and whatnot. And the main cat starts, kind of communicating a little bit with Jennifer Hudson cat in like one scene. I think he sings something about like how you should come join us or something. It's sort of at this point when the movie started to actually kind of lose me. When the film started, it was a non-stop barrage of sensory overload, like, here are all these cat-human hybrids, look at how tiny they are in London, now here are all these mice singing songs, now here are these bugs, now here's Jason Derulo cat screaming in front of the camera, now here's Idris Elba cat dressed as a pimp, but he's also a magician, now here are these twin cats causing some shit. Like, it's all this bizarre craziness, and then it just kind of runs out of steam, it feels like. Like I was starting to sort of lose interest in what was happening. There was nothing really there that was keeping me all that entertained. My brother, who was sitting right next to me, literally started falling asleep. He was asleep throughout parts of this. And they're in this stage for so long, and as soon as one of the cats gets abducted, they're thinking, oh no, Idris Elba's here with us. But instead we get a musical number from Taylor Swift cat, and Taylor Swift cat is apparently working with Idris Elba cat. This is the first time we're seeing Taylor Swift in the movie. We haven't seen her earlier in like the dock or the boat or whatever. And her and Idris Elba both have like kind of a little bit of a duet. He doesn't come in until around the end of it. And there he abducts Judi Dench cat, basically begging her to like send him to cat heaven. And of course Judi Cat is like, hell nah. And so he makes Judi Cat walk the plank of the ship that they're in. While meanwhile, back in the stage, the magic cat, like the other magic cat, the good magic cat, who's kind of the love interest of main cat, everyone around him is like, you gotta bring her back using magic. But he's like, I don't know, I'm not very good at magic. I'm not all that, I'm nervous. And so they just sing a song about how he's the greatest magician in the world or something. And after like 5 or 6 different failed takes of him flicking his wand and nothing happening, it suddenly works. Judi Dench suddenly appears again. She's back. We don't see like a puff of smoke or anything like Idris Elba does. And Idris Elba back in the ship doesn't take too well to this, that he disappears again. And it's only here now that all the other cats who are held captive, oh god. James Corden, Rebel Wilson, all those people. It's only now that they decide, we're going to fight now. We're going to fend off against these bad cats. Rebel Wilson was apparently wearing a cat bodysuit on her cat suit. And they get out of that mess somehow. And it's after Judi Dench was rescued that the lead cat was like, I know a cat that you should listen to. And she brings out Jennifer Hudson cat. And Jennifer Hudson sings Memory All Alone in the Moonlight or whatever. And Judi Dench was like, that's it. You're the one. You're the one who's going up to cat heaven. They know... there's no, she just sang one song. So she goes to cat heaven, which is literally like a hot air balloon on a chandelier. Idris Elba is literally hanging on, trying to like get up there, but he falls off, and it's like a wacky comic moment. And then all the cats from the movie gather around that lion statue that you see at the end of the trailer, and they sing a song about how great it is to be a cat. Everybody wants to be a cat! And Judi Dench starts turning her face towards the camera, breaking the fourth wall, saying, hopefully you as an audience member would know that cats are essentially just like us. Cats are no different than humans. And cats are definitely not dogs. She does it like 3 times in a row. Each time she does it, I think it's the last time, but nope, she pulls another one out. And then she turns to lead cat and says, you are definitely a jellicle cat now. Again, I don't understand what didn't make her a Jellicle cat to begin with. And I watched Jennifer Hudson just kind of float away, and that's it. That's the end of the movie. I can't help but think about the thought process behind every stage of development. From like the script, how did the script look to the actors? I mean, I know it was based off the musical. I can only wonder how the musical got so popular, because nothing about it really made much sense to me while watching it. I will say that some of the songs I heard weren't that bad. Like the Railroad Cat one in particular was honestly pretty catchy.
There's a whisper down the line at 11:39 when the nightmare's ready to depart, saying, "Skimble, where is Skimble? Has he gone to hunt the thimble? We must find him or the train can't start."
But if I were to watch this in the stage, as a stage musical, I would probably be like, I paid $80 to see this shit. I mean, it's certainly something, alright. I could sort of see how when they're making this live action that they might not want to go for the cat leotard look. They could have maybe pulled off some Mike Myers as the Cat in the Hat makeup or something, but they're like, nah, Mike Myers' nose looks too cat-like. Let's just not give any of them cat noses. Give them normal noses, a normal face structure, but cat ears on top, and have cat fur growing out of their body. I was looking over at the production art because this was originally meant to be a hand-drawn animated movie from Amblimation, the people who did Balto and American Tail and all that. And it looked really interesting. These character designs are like, these are honestly pretty charming. Why didn't they make this animated? It would have probably still been CG or something, but it's bound to look more interesting than this. There is some interesting imagery you could do with an animated film. Did they not want to do that? Were they thinking in Lion King logic that people won't take animation seriously, which is bullshit? I can imagine a studio like DreamWorks or something doing something with this. But instead you're like, nope, let's have naked Idris Elba cat. Imagine if back when The Wire ended and people were like, wow, that Idris Elba guy sure is a great actor. What's he gonna do next? I bet he's gonna be James Bond or something. Nope, he's gonna be Naked Cat. On a scale of strange, realistic CG in 2019, I would rate this above Lion King, only because Lion King is so bland looking. They made it overtly realistic to a fault, no one emoted. To be honest, I'm never gonna see that movie, but that's the general impression I got out of it. This made me feel feelings. This definitely made me intrigued throughout the whole duration. It's kind of funny how you do get used to it. Like after a while you just kind of accept the fact that these are cats, but as a whole there's no story, there's no characters I could connect with. I do still sort of applaud how far they went with the general. There's certainly some pretty out-of-the-box imagery. I'm glad to have at least seen it in the theater, I guess. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give maybe like a 3 or a 4 out of 10, maybe a 4. I am leaning more towards a 3. Like I said, my audience applauded at the end. It wasn't a big audience because, you know, Star Wars, but when we were leaving the theater, my brother said that that film was beautiful. He fell asleep during most of it. So I guess a new day has come, indeed. Actually, why am I wearing a suit anyway? That's cheating. The people in the movie didn't do this. They used digital technology. I'm gonna do the same thing then as well. Yeah, I'm a cat now, baby. Yeah.
Meow, meow, meow.